Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday, October 8th edition of the Free Thought Forum, brought to you by the friendly folks at Pennsylvania Nonbelievers. Tonight's show, we will be talking and reading some letters to the editor, and also we will be discussing how the idea of God got started. However, I would like to introduce the co-host of the show, my friend George Zerber.
Here I am.
And me, I'm Doug Diggins, also known as Dastardly Doug by some people, like that, but I'm really not dastardly. We'll say it now and repeat it later. Our next show will be in 2 weeks, on Tuesday, October the 22nd. We have some things coming up soon, like the Enola Pumpkin Festival, and we will be talking about that a little later in the show and tell you about all the wonderful things that you can find at the Enola Fair. That's just above Harrisburg, a little bit west of it. Right now, we'd like to start off by reading and commenting on some letters that we have to the editor that were written by various people in the area and printed by the newspapers and also being displayed online. This is a live call-in show. And if you have any comments about the letters or any comments about our comments, please feel free to call in. The number is up on your screen, and it is 717-846-5067. It should be just above our good-looking heads here, because we are the talking heads tonight.
Good-looking heads. Where do you see good-looking heads here? You just see us.
Oh, okay. Oh, we've been photoshopped.
The first letter I saw was not actually a letter to editor. It was an advice column. Carolyn Hacks. This young lady writes in, my 18-year-old? No, my 13-year-old niece is interviewing family members about their religious beliefs for school. Now, she's an atheist. Should she make it clear that she's an atheist? What should she do? Well, my advice is, yes, you should tell your niece you're an atheist. We shouldn't be in the closet any longer. There are many of us out there, and the more that come out, the more people will realize they know atheists, and atheists are nobody to fear. And so she should come out of, she said, yes, you're an atheist, even though her niece, I assume her niece is religious, because she wouldn't worry about it otherwise. So tell the niece.
The thing is, that you hear so many people saying, but I don't know anyone that is an atheist. Yeah. And, you know, that's absolutely false. Now, in the past, atheists were largely in the closet. They didn't want to come out because it was actually far worse for an atheist to come out of the closet than it was for someone who was gay. Yeah. Well, maybe it was the same.
Yeah, depending on the circumstances,
people sort of resisted it. But now in today's society, a lot of the stigma has been squelched regarding being an atheist, and the more people that come out and admit that they are either an atheist, an agnostic, whatever handle makes you feel the most comfortable. You know what you are in your own head, but if you feel uncomfortable using the word atheist right now, like that, then say you're an agnostic, like that. Later, when you feel more comfortable and people haven't totally rejected you, then you come out and say, well, I've really thought about it, and I'm more of an atheist than I am an agnostic. So.
Well, the thing is with children, I know there are many Christians. They don't mention the word atheist or tell their children what atheists are about. And every atheist I know has children. They've given their children some religious training. Our daughter went to a school, Episcopalian school, for 6 years, that taught her about religion, and we told her we didn't believe in it, but we wanted her to get a good education and to learn about these things. And now my daughter's 31 and she's an atheist. So what are religious people worried about? If you say atheist to a child, all of a sudden he won't believe anymore in your religion? So it seems to me they have a lack of faith in their own religion to tell the children you can't even, not even be exposed to this.
Yeah.
They expose them to other things. But that's just, I don't understand that aspect of it, the fear of atheism.
Yeah, when I was a child, which was back in the Stone Age, I didn't know what the word atheist meant. I hadn't heard the thing. But
most of us haven't.
Yeah, but I was an atheist or a non-believer from the time I first went to school, and got a note sent home by my teacher to my parents saying that I was disruptive during Bible classes. Now, they said that I would ask inappropriate questions that was disruptive to the class. I don't remember the questions really that I asked back then, but I've been asking questions all my life and saying, well, you know, the Bible really doesn't make sense to me. What may seem to make sense to someone else doesn't to me. And I never really came out of the closet as an atheist till, you know, much later in life, but by what some people would say was my sacrilegious sense of humor and the jokes that I would tell, they'd figure, well, this guy isn't too religious.
They probably figured it out.
Yeah.
But, you know, we get these, you mentioned the letters to the editor. Now, we had one in yesterday's paper from the 7th here, from Larry Reinhardt of Dover Township. Now, he and Jeff Brown have been going back and forth. Matter of fact, I'd love to, if you know Larry Reinhardt, love to have him call in here, or Jeff Brown. We know Jeff Brown.
Yeah.
It'd be great to have them debate here, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
but,
I've been on the show with Jeff a couple of times.
Now Larry says he talks about God and how is writing in the Bible that, let's see, he says that naturally the biblical narratives reflect aspects of their contemporary culture, such as slavery and male dominance, but Christ promoted neither of these. Well, we can debate that, because I believe the Bible does say that you should treat your slaves well and things like that. But the thing about the Bible is there's so many different interpretations. You think God, if there is a God, and he's all-knowing and all, wouldn't he know how to write so things are perfectly clear? I mean, there are ways to phrase things that no one has there's no doubt about it, what you mean.
Two people should read the thing, or 100 people, and both have exactly the same comprehension, exactly the same idea and belief.
Yeah, you know, there are things you can make perfectly clear. I mean, when I drive down the street, I see a stop sign, I know exactly what that means. It means stop. There's no ambivalence there. And so why couldn't God write things that were clear to everyone? And why is morality changing? Things like male dominance and things like this, you know.
Well, women's rights and everything. I mean,
slavery and
ideas have changed over the years and over the centuries, and
which is understandable for us humans. We're merely human. But if you're a god, you should.
Yeah, I mean,
your writing should never be called into question. You should have written what you meant, and you know, should never change. Yeah. But it does. That's a strange thing. But we'd love to hear from Larry Reinhardt. He's, if you know Larry, have him give us a call. He's trying to explain some of this stuff, you know. And he and Jeff Brown have been going at it in the papers for some time now, I notice. But we have other letters here. Here's one from Hazel Cunningham. This was a few weeks. When was this one? We have these a lot of papers here in front of us.
Before you read that,
September 20th.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that this is a live call-in show, and if you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, please feel free to do so. The Our phone number is right above our heads right now. Please call in, and also remember that we do have a 7-second delay in it that makes it somewhat confusing if you are calling in and have your television on and your volume turned up at the same time, because what you hear on the television actually is 7 seconds behind what you hear in the telephone. So it's less confusing if you turn the volume of your TV down before phoning in.
Well, I think if you call in, our phone answerer will explain all of that. He'll get you straightened out, so you don't have to worry about it. No. But we got a letter from Hazel Cunningham. Too many ignore teachings of Jesus. She says many times she's planning to write a letter titled, "If Jesus walked the earth today, I think he'd be in a lot of trouble." Because Jesus, as I understand, was rather socialistic, wasn't he? He said, give money to the poor, you know, and today's, especially right-wing politicians, they don't believe that. They don't want to take money away from the poor. They're shutting down the government, shutting down they don't want money for the supplemental insurance, the SNAP program, the nutrition program. They don't want that. They don't want. They would disagree with Jesus altogether on that helping the poor stuff.
Yeah.
As far as they're concerned, you should help yourself. So I think Hazel from New Freedom, I think if Jesus was here, he'd be in trouble. He certainly wouldn't get elected to office, that's for sure.
Well, there was an old song out by, I think it was Ray Stevens, back in the 60s or 70s, and it says, "Would Jesus wear a Rolex?" And it's quite an interesting song. It's meant as a parody and as humorous, but it says, "Would Jesus have a television show? Would his wife wear furs and diamonds? And would he wear a Rolex on his television show?" And today you look at some of the mega preachers that are out there that the believers support, and the millionaire lifestyle. I don't really think that Jesus, if he was real, would approve of that.
Well, I think he was mocking them, wasn't he?
Oh yes, it was definitely a mocking.
And it's been even worse since then. I mean, there's even more of those people doing a crazy thing. And you have people like Ted Haggard who, railed about homosexuality, and
was one of the biggest ones there were.
Yes, he was. But he got cured,
Yeah, well, you can pray away gay. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, he was cured of his homosexuality. Well, I think Dan Savage, the person who writes Savage Love, who's gay and has spoken on many gay issues, said because Ted hadn't had gay sex in some time. He said, well, if that's the case, I've been straight since 2 o'clock this morning. So, he kind of mocked him. And that's true. Just because you haven't had gay sex in a while doesn't mean you're not gay. I mean, there was a reason he was having gay sex to begin with. These people want to deny these things, but they come up with all kinds of excuses. I was drunk. Well, I've had too much to drink at times. Guess what? I never turned gay. I mean, I'm straight, so I'm straight. And let's face it, that's just an excuse. A lame one at that. Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? That bumper sticker that I saw it says, "Every time you see a rainbow, that means God is having gay sex."
Yeah. Of course, we don't believe that, but but it's funny. It offends people. So, some of our bumper stickers that we sell at for instance, the Pumpkin Fest will be offensive to some people. Yeah. That's the way it goes. So we get offended by some of their bumper stickers.
Yeah, but then again, we don't have to buy, they don't have to buy any of our bumper stickers. Yeah. But you'd be surprised how many that we do sell. Yeah. So that not everyone is, a holy roller.
Yeah. Well, we just got back, my wife and I just got back from Green Bay. We drove up to Green Bay. We drive up for a Packer game, of course. And on the way up, we noticed, I think the Ohio Turnpike, we noticed a few of the religious billboards. But especially in northern Wisconsin, there were many. Jesus is the way, and this, all kinds of God loves you, all this stuff. boy, these people must have a lot of money that they can afford billboards, putting up these billboards all over the place. There were tons of them. I don't know what brought that on, though.
Were any of them condemning you to hell? And
I think there might have been some that said you're going to hell if you don't believe, which is pretty harsh, isn't it? Now, let's get back to the newspaper here. There was something in Sunday's paper, which we got home and found this on our doorstep, from Dr. George, L-A-P-E-S. I don't know if it's Lapes or Lapes, I'm not sure how he pronounces it. Homosexuality, reconciling science and religion. He basically says, it's a long article, it basically says that, well, if you're gay, he accepts the fact that you don't become gay, that you're born that way, but you basically should just shut up about it and don't do anything about it. God did this. But God sounds rather mean-spirited to me, to make someone gay, but then tell him you can't act on it. So you can never be sexually fulfilled.
Yeah.
But you just can't act on it. So why would he do that?
Why would he make people that were so imperfect?
Yeah.
I mean, if God created a gay person, then what is this? A test? I'm going to make you gay, but don't act on it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like Adam and Eve.
Oh, yeah.
Like with the stupid garden and
the apple,
the apple from the tree of the knowledge of right and wrong. Well, why didn't he want them to know what was wrong? I mean, if you come right down to it, when they supposedly God told them you can eat of anything except from that tree. Yeah. But seeing as they had not eaten from that tree yet, how did they know that it was wrong to not listen to God? I mean, they hadn't obtained the knowledge of right and wrong yet. It wasn't until they bit into the apple they said, "Oh, holy mackerel! Boy, we shouldn't have done that." But before they did it,
God told them they shouldn't have done that. God told them not to do it. The devil said, "Do it."
Yeah, but I mean, how did they know that it was wrong to disobey God? They had no knowledge of right or wrong at that time.
I guess God just assumed that they knew that don't do anything I tell you not to do.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Or you will surely die.
Yeah. Well, getting back to that story, the Adam and Eve, there was only two people on the earth, and they had two children, Cain and Abel, right?
Yeah.
And they went out and who did they reproduce with? The only other woman there was their mother.
Yeah.
So does that mean we're all started with incestuous relationships?
Little hanky-panky there?
Well, who else? There was no other women there, so who are they reproducing with? I always wondered about that one.
But wasn't there some stories about a woman before Eve called Lilith?
Yes. But how did that come about? I thought Adam and Eve were the first two.
Yeah, well,
I'm confused by the whole thing.
Lilith wanted to be on top, and Adam said, "No, this is the male position here, so get rid of her and give me someone that's more submissive."
Lilith was a little kinky then, huh? She wanted some of that wild. Okay.
Hey, has anyone got her address? Send it to me, please.
I think she might be dead by now. Now, Dr. Lapes here, he's a psychiatrist, and he tells a story about Saint Mary of Egypt. She was born in Egypt. At the age of 12, she ran away from home and became a prostitute. However, she was unusual because she had an insatiable desire for sex. She often didn't accept money for her services. She went on a pilgrimage to Jerusalem for the celebration of the Feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross, which, whatever that is. In attempting to enter the church, she was barred by an invisible force. After multiple attempts, she slumped exhausted on the porch. In contemplation, it dawned on her that her sinful ways were the reason for being denied entry. Transformed, she prayed for forgiveness and vowed repentance. She was then allowed to enter. Now, first of all, where the heck did they get this story from? Were people writing this down? I mean, these are made-up stories, and this is supposed to prove something?
Yeah, well, the whole story of Jesus, wasn't written until the start, minimum 60 years after his death, and now they're writing verbatim what he said. I don't think so.
No, we've all done the parlor game where you go around, and you find out what happened. But as a psychiatrist, he says, it's quite clear to me that Mary suffered from sexual addiction. Well, yeah, I guess so. She was doing it for free. Yeah, but she could have got paid. Yeah. She wasn't a very good businesswoman either. But now, like I said, these stories, and there are people every once in a while try to convince us as atheists that the Bible says this. Well, we don't believe in the Bible. Well, why would that sway our opinion of anything? Well, I mean, that's just a made-up story, like most of them are.
Well, that is the primary proof that all the religious people quote is the Bible. I mean, Bible is the only authority that they believe in, or that really is available to us. And if you come really right down to it, I'm sorry, someone walked in the back of the studio.
I know, it just disturbed you, didn't they? Yeah.
But I forgot what I was going to say, but it'll come back.
Well, according to the Bible, to us is just, well, now even some religious people, I think Catholics, pretty much believe that the Bible is allegory. They're just stories to make a point. They don't believe that to be historically accurate, whereas other religions believe that it's historically accurate. This is exactly what happened.
And it's verbatim, the word as dictated by God.
And they believe that, was it Jonah was in the belly of the whale for...
Actually...
Well, how do you live in the belly of a whale for 3 days?
Yeah.
Oh, tell me that one. Now, how can you fall for that,
So I mean, how the heck did he breathe in the belly of a whale? Maybe the whale had a lot of gas,
Well, once again, these are stories that are handed down and then written down eventually, and so just like a story that you would start telling people stories, by the time somebody writes it down, it'd be totally out of proportion. So, you wouldn't recognize it, But, so the psychiatrist here who's, I feel sorry that he's treating people. I hope. He says he personally has no issues with homosexuals. I hope if he's treating any, he's nice to them and not telling them that having gay sex is completely wrong, because those poor people will be very frustrated.
Yeah, but the thing is that gay people now have heard that same rhetoric, all their life. So, a psychiatrist or a priest telling them the same story is going to have very little additional effect on them than what they've already gone through all of their lives.
It's amazing to me that there are any homosexual people that are still Christian with the Bible. And the Bible does say if a man sleeps with a man as he would a woman, he should be put to death. Now, there are people who say that doesn't mean what it sounds, but how else can you take that? It says you should be put to death.
Yeah.
Is that, I don't know how you can rationalize that away to say, no, that's not what it means, because...
Well, I mean, that is the actual, if the Bible is 100% accurate and there are no contradictions in the thing, then you have to put a homosexual to death. Just the same as if your child disobeys you, like that. You must put your child to death. If your wife kisses another man, like that, you must stone her to death.
Yeah, that's if you really believe the Bible, and people say they do, but we call them cafeteria Christians. They pick and choose what they want. Well, that part I believe in, that part I don't. So,
but they all, whenever they start speaking, you can usually tell that kind of a person, because they always begin the conversation, well, I am a Christian and I think, And then, you know those little magnifying lights that have got the round neon bulb in it? Whenever I hear that, I always imagine them having the thing, that bulb above their head, and as they say, well, I'm a Christian, and they pull the chain, and their little neon halo comes on. And they are no more believable than anyone else, just because they prefaced their what they were going to say with, well, I'm a Christian. Well, I'm sorry, but you say to me, well, I'm a Christian, I'll just about turn it off right there.
Well, to me, their opinion is no better than anyone else's. But yeah, Dr. Lapes had a long article here. And he tells us that, yeah, it's just wrong. You just should stop, just don't do it, which, like I said, that seems just awfully cruel to me. There was another letter here. Now, when was this one in the paper? This was October 1st. We've got some old papers here. Rick Sittler of Lower Windsor Township. He wants to spread the word about sin's consequences. Well, legally, there are some. It depends what your sin is. If your sin's robbing the 7-Eleven, yeah, you probably go to jail. But you know, it depends what you consider a sin too. But
would you go to hell? The supposed hell for it. So maybe God's punishment might be less than man's punishment.
Yeah.
I would say that. I would fear the punishment of man before I'd fear the punishment of God.
Well, Rick goes on to, he tells us a story about allegory about the fire in the middle of the night. And so a lot of the letters that they do these allegories, these things that really aren't relevant to anything, you know. He also tells us churches, pastors, Christians, wake up and weep. Lost sinners are dying all around us every day, but our calendars and bulletins are so crammed with fluff activities that we could care less. Well, yeah, people are dying around us, but that's life. I mean, if you're living, you're going to die. So yeah, people die. And as far as what we do about it, well, if they're dying of diseases, let's look for cures to those diseases.
Yeah. No, I know we got some pictures up on the screen. I just wondered why, like that, or maybe it was an accidental right click on the control room.
No, our control room, he knows what he's doing over there.
Okay.
Oh.
It was, in fact.
Well, probably more attractive than us, so that's why I put it up there. Yeah, but these letters to the editors, we find, and many of them refer to prayer being, I prayed and my prayers were answered. But they don't tell you when they prayed and the prayers were not answered. Many of them have to do with health. I was sick and I prayed and I got better. But yet on the same paper, I'll look at the death notices, and we'll see children dying. So what happened? Did they not pray enough? Or did they pray wrongly? Or
is there a minimum prayer level that you have to reach before, God would listen to you and act upon it?
Maybe. Or maybe God's saying, you didn't pray right. Your kid's gone. You know, that's pretty mean of him, isn't it? I mean, I wonder why. Why he answers some prayers and not others.
Yeah, the biggest example that people get is that they had cancer and they prayed and their cancer went away, as though it was God's job. I mean, people naturally go into remission, and they're not necessarily prayed for.
How many of them have doctors? I'll bet the doctor had something to do with it. A little more than...
No one ever says, oh, boy, the doctor cured her of cancer. It was God answered my prayer. And, well, if that's the case, why the heck am I paying $14,000 to that doctor?
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, we had a letter here back in, let's see, September 24th from our friend Jeffrey Brown. Jeffrey writes some conflicting. This is the one Larry Reinhardt's always fighting with. He ends his letter by saying, "I, for one, have no desire to tell God how he should run things." Well, Jeffrey, if you really believe in God, I agree with that you shouldn't tell him how to run things, because he's God. Who the heck are you? I mean, I can sit in the stands and tell Mike McCarthy what play he should call, but, I'm just another human to two humans, and, of course, Mike doesn't listen to me anyway, so...
I don't see why.
Yeah, well, he knows better than I do, I think, most of the time, but many fans would disagree with that. But I think Jeff's got, as a Christian, Jeff's a pretty good guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff's a good guy. But he's got the right attitude. I mean, if you really believe there's a God up there, who the heck are you to be telling him how to run things? I mean, supposedly he knows a little more than you know.
I always viewed prayer as really an insult to God. I mean, God knows everything. He has a plan for you. And here you are, a lowly little human, and you're saying, excuse me, God, this magnificent plan of yours, I think it's flawed. I think that, in my humble opinion, God, that you should do this, and this, and forget about your silly plan.
Yeah. Well, I think if someone disrupted my 5-day planner, I'd be upset. And these people are asking God, who's got like a gazillion-year planner, to upset the whole thing. I mean, because really, when you think about it, just little things can greatly affect your whole life. I mean, I look at my life.
Yeah.
If my friend Ron, I went to grade school with my best friend Ron Gutnick from grade school, went to a different high school, and that set in a chain of events that led to me meeting my wife.
Yeah.
Well, I would have never met her otherwise.
Well, what do they call it? Like the butterfly effect. How the flapping of a butterfly's wing on one side of the globe will cause a hurricane in the opposite side of
We should get that butterfly, by the way, and stop this.
Smash that little son of a
little
gun.
things like that. If you went to a party and you met someone that you end up marrying, which is what happened with me, which I wouldn't have been at the party if I hadn't been. Well, anyway, it's a long story.
Yeah.
But believe me, that's how it came about. So little things.
It was a chain of events.
Yeah. And you take one link out, and the chain
falls apart.
Yeah.
Really.
So. It's,
the two people sitting on either end of the chain pulling on the thing are now sitting on their butt.
Yeah. Now, but we should get Jeff. We'd like to get Jeff in here to defend his letters. Maybe getting Larry Reinhardt in here. A good debate. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
We'll have to try to arrange that somehow.
We'd have to keep some. Maybe a little mace in here in case it got kind of, testy there. But,
I bet they'd be civil. I think. Now, here's a letter from Lonnie Carmen. Now, he said, God never left America. He's waiting for all of us to call on him again for all his blessing. Well, it seems to me we got a lot of people calling on God around here. I mean, there's churches everywhere you go. There's churches all over the place. They're talking to God all the time. Why is... And he says, we need to put God back into our country, our country, government, schools, and each one of our families. Now, the school thing, that's been, they've been harping on
God?
that. Yeah, that's right. Who's God? Yeah.
I mean, you say, is it your personal God, your idea of who God is? Have you got a mental image of God? Let me just ask you a hypothetical question here. Okay, more than likely, your idea of God is, it looks similar to the Michelangelo painting of God and Adam on the Sistine roof of the Sistine Chapel. He's got he's old and he's wise looking and got long white hair and white robes and everything. And he created us in his image. Well, okay, if you create man in his image, so this means then that that God has got 5 fingers, hands, arms, head, eyes, nose, mouth. That's general image. So everyone has got a very similar idea of what God looks like, and this is the God that they truly love and they want to be in heaven for all eternity with. But what if that when you got up to the supposed pearly gates here and you're greeted by God, when they opened up, you've got something like that alien monster from the Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. Still got a head and fingers and arms and everything, but it is the most hideous looking thing that you've ever seen. But it's humanoid looking. And he says to you, "Hi, I'm God, and I'm about to judge you." What would you think? What would you do? Would you immediately reject that God, or person that introduced himself as God because it was so objectionable to you, and say, "No, no, no, I don't want anything to do with you"? Would you deny that he was really God because he didn't meet up with your expectations? Or would you accuse him of, no, you're really the devil and you're trying to trick me? No one knows. I mean, they've got all these, 6 billion different images of who God is.
Well, it doesn't say that God created man in his own image, so but we're all different. I mean, so what image did he? I know it's hard to say.
Brad Pitt, maybe.
We've got a simple answer. He doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It's just make believe. I mean, now we also get letters, not letters, just little op-ed pieces here. This one was from J. Edward Milback, who lives in Shrewsbury. Tea Party view of Christians off base. That's funny about the Tea Party. They're very Christian, but yet there are other Christians who think they're way off, that they have the wrong idea altogether. So why is this supposed God who's up there, master of all things, why isn't he down here straightening out the Tea Party, saying, you guys are off base, you guys don't know what you're talking about? Or the people who disagree with the Tea Party, why isn't he telling them? Weren't there stories in the Bible about him smiting people? And
there's a lot of smiting going on. Yeah.
Well, what happened to good old smiting? There's some people should be smiting. He should be smiting people nowadays. There's a few of them, I think. I think he should be smiting some of them.
Yeah, go to Washington, D.C. and smite a few people.
Yeah. Some of those
go to Syria and smite a few people.
Yeah. I think Assad's the one doing the smiting. He's smiting people that he doesn't like. I don't understand. There's a Tea Party. They're all Christians. And you've got liberal Christians. You've got conservative Christians. You've got middle-of-the-road Christians. Who's right? And why isn't God sending us a sign, I mean...
Well, look, that's the point. A lot of people think that God is sending them a sign. And they interpret just about everything that goes on from a hurricane to a sinkhole as being an act of God, as God talking.
And he sends mixed messages, doesn't he?
Oh yes.
Because some of the tornadoes that hit, like for instance Oklahoma, that's a very religious area. They hit them. Wow. Maybe God was aiming for Sweden, but he missed, and hit Oklahoma, which is his aim's pretty bad, So it's hard for us to comprehend how people can believe these things. To think that there's some method to this, and you ask them, well, why isn't, if you ask Christians, why doesn't God do this? Why doesn't God? Well, he doesn't work that way.
Yeah, he works in mysterious ways, and we may not question him.
Why not? Why can't we question him?
If we don't understand something, why is it so wrong to ask God,
Yeah.
you know, why the heck are you doing this? Can you explain your reason for it?
Yeah. Well, why did God give us brains to think then if he didn't want us to think? Of course, some people, I wonder what kind of brains they have, you know, so they don't do a lot of thinking.
But if we ate of the tree of the knowledge of right and wrong, okay, then supposedly we have the same sort of knowledge of right and wrong as what God has. So why is it then that we will look at God and think that the actions that are attributed to God are so wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, why shouldn't we be able, if there is a God, to just say to him, hey, God, was it you that just wiped out Oklahoma City?
Yeah, more Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you know, any other, Katrina or Sandy. It's crazy. Now, here's another letter from Donald Cockley of Manchester. He wants to know, he says, bless the patriotic conservatives. The conservatives are the patriotic ones.
Oh,
That's,
I must have missed that.
Yeah, yeah. Now he rambles on about Exodus chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. The Israelites were suffering under the stubbornness of an unyielding Pharaoh. Then God called on Moses and his brother Aaron and assigned them the almost impossible task of freeing their people. What did God do? He assured Moses and Aaron the goal of freedom would be achieved through his sovereign power. Well, does anybody have complete freedom nowadays? And I thought, well, we're losing our freedoms in this country, so I guess, well, I guess we didn't listen to the conservatives.
The thing is, back then, all those people were eating the Pharaoh out of house and home. So, I mean, I'm quite sure that, you know, it didn't take much convincing just to, you know, let the people go. And the only, you know, regardless of what you may think or say, I'll tell you the real story here, because records show that, you know, he told all of the people there that you can take a reasonable amount of food with you and provisions. And before they went, they looted all of his granaries and all the food sources and everything, and just about took everything with them. And when he heard about it, he says, whoa, wait a minute. And he takes off after them.
Well, oftentimes do-gooders like that, who try to do good, end up getting the short end of the stick.
Yeah, no good deed ever goes unpunished.
Yeah, that happens. Quite often you hear about somebody trying to help someone and they end up taking advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you've got to be careful. But yeah, but Donald tells us, God bless the United States of America. God, please bless. Now, why is doesn't he like the whole earth? Just us. He just likes America. What about, you know,
Sweden.
Yeah, well, no, they're not very religious in Sweden, so maybe that's
I know.
why.
That's why.
But some of the Latin American countries, some of the third world countries, are very religious. Yet they have short life expectancies, and they have terrible poverty. And why wouldn't God bless them?
No food and no rain.
Yeah.
So I mean, they can't make crops. So you mean to say that the person that created Noah's flood couldn't send a little bit of rain to Africa to help them with their crops?
They must have done something wrong, I guess, in God's eyes.
Yeah, they peed him off big time.
I guess, you know, if you're watching. Now maybe you can understand why we don't believe in a God, because look at these contradictions. If there was a God up there, would he allow these things to happen? I mean, this is crazy. Now, Donald says that the time has come for moral constitutionalists, patriotic conservatives, be blessed with Moses and Aaron-like leaders, men of integrity to guide us to reclaim our republic. Well, first of all, we still have our republic. They talk about reclaiming it. I've heard people in town hall meetings say, I want my country back. Well, this, first of all, it's not your country, it's our country.
Yeah.
And it's not going anywhere. We're still here. And
yeah, and we're not going to let one person run it.
yeah. I mean, we have a great system, and nothing to do with religion. And if you read the Constitution, you can see that we are not a theocracy. And, of course, the people want to say that, well, you know, the people who founded our country, we were founded as a Christian nation. We were not founded as a Christian nation. If the founders wanted a theocracy, they were very intelligent people, and they knew how to write. They would have written in the Constitution, we have a theocracy. And they did not. They wanted just the opposite. They wanted a separation of church and state. And for those people who say, well, the wall of separation is not in the Constitution. Well, the term the wall of separation came from Thomas Jefferson in his letter to the Danbury Church back in 1812, I believe it was. Well, you know, Thomas Jefferson was around at the time they wrote that Constitution, not us. We were not around. So now, I think he knows what he's talking about. I think he knew what he was talking about when he said that.
He knew that what the situation and more or less the lay of the land at that time, and he knew all the problems that went along with the mixing of church and state. And that's why they wanted to get away from the thing. And
it's worked well.
Yes.
Actually, religion does better here than it does in many of the countries that are theocracies. I mean, I think I've told the story before of when we were in Milan, Italy, on a tour. Now, these tours we go on in Italy, oftentimes you go to churches because they're big, beautiful buildings. And we were in this big, beautiful church. I don't even know which one it was. And someone asked, how many parishioners are here now? Well, actually, about 40 active parishioners. So it's a tourist attraction. So, but in Italy, you know, that's they're very religious. Supposedly, only 40 people go to church there. You know, so you know, and then when you try to force something down people's throat, I guess they react just the opposite. And here, we are free, and you know, the government is free from religion. Religion is free to do what they want without government interference. And I think there are people out there who appreciate that. For instance, the Reverend Barry Lynn, who's head of Americans United for the Separation of Church and State, he understands that. That's why he wants to keep it separate. So the intelligent people.
And he's not against religion.
Oh no, he's a reverend.
He just doesn't want to mix.
Yeah, he is a reverend.
The two together. Stay out of my business, and I'll stay out of yours.
Yeah, and if you take money from the government, you should be responsible then to answer to them, and that if they want that, that's what they're going to get.
Yeah. Now, you know, we would like to get a little bit more into like government and to like the politics. However, we are a non-profit 501c3 organization that does not allow us to
endorse candidates.
Yeah,
we can't endorse candidates.
Or to basically to criticize religion. It's sort of like, well, okay, we'll let you off paying some taxes, but you can't badmouth us. And I think if you want to see a show that is that gets a little bit more into government involvement, unwanted government involvement, then you should watch a show here called Piercing the Illusion with Mike Nixon. And he puts forth some great views, and he's not restricted like we are by a 501c3. So if you want to watch a good show...
Well, now, mainly with a 501c3, we can't endorse candidates. We can talk about issues. We just can't endorse candidates, and we don't. Now, I got another letter here that I saw. This is from, when was this from? This is from September 18th, from Mary Furman from Dallastown. The headline is, "Don't Let Christian America Leave." Well, first, it's not a Christian country. Now, her first sentence here is, "Take God out of our Pledge of Allegiance. Who are they kidding?" Well, first of all, God was not in the Pledge of Allegiance originally.
No.
It came about, of course, in the 50s during the McCarthy era. So that was not in the original Pledge of Allegiance.
Well, they wanted to show the difference between
Right.
Russia and
communists,
us.
yeah.
But it was still, it was false. They called Russia an atheist nation or godless nation.
Godless communists.
Yes. But the whole point is that they wasn't. The Catholic Church was huge.
Was it?
During that time, and in Russia, and various other religions were. Just that some of the leadership was down on religion.
Yeah. Well, I think if you're truly a communist, you're an atheist.
Yeah.
But not all atheists are communists. That's the difference.
Yeah.
So, and in America, this love it or leave it. I've been hearing that since I was a kid,
Yeah.
back in back in the '60s. And as a matter of fact, with all the right-wing people complaining now, I sometimes think maybe you should take your advice, love it or leave it.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard something today that Glenn Beck, the right-wing Christian,
Good old Glenn.
claimed
Yeah.
that he was thinking about moving to Canada. Well, Canada's more liberal than America.
Yeah.
I mean, they have national health insurance, socialized medicine, if you want to call it that, and they're very left-leaning. So I do wonder what he's thinking.
Well,
I think he's
I'll
not.
be glad to contribute to his airfare if he wants to go, and he promises not to come back.
Yeah, he's
but-
got plenty of money, so I think
Yeah.
he doesn't need that. Yeah, but Mary, yes, says you should leave our country if you don't like this, and take God out of the pledge. That's terrible. Well, it was not in the pledge for many years, so I guess we were terrible, huh? Oh, it says even our children are being brainwashed by all these leftist professors into thinking the government owes them a living, and our government is all wrong. I don't know anyone that's telling people that the government owes them a living.
No.
I mean, there are, as a matter of fact, there are a lot of corporations that are getting a living off of the government. Farm subsidies and other industries being subsidized. That they don't seem to mind, do they?
No.
But yeah. It's,
Well, you talk about government trying to give everyone something. It's because the people are asking. Well, we want the government to do this for us, and the government to do that for us, and every single thing that they ask for has to be paid for.
Right.
And then they're the first people to bitch. Well, you shouldn't have to raise taxes. Well, stop asking for all these ridiculous things that you want from our government.
well, people don't realize. They say the government doesn't do anything for me. Some of them say that. Yes, they do. You wake up in the morning. You probably you take a shower or turn on your faucet. There's that water coming from. It's a public water system. You drive to work. You're driving down public roads, and there's not chaos on the roads because we've got street signs and traffic lights the government's putting up. So the government does something for everyone. So there's people think they do it all on their own.
Yeah.
No one does.
But I mean, whatever the government does for you, there is always a price that you have to pay for it. And if you're going to ask the government to do all this for you, then you've got to be willing to pay the piper.
Someone's got to pay for this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's taxes are the price of living in civilization. And a lot of people don't want to accept that.
Well, maybe they should modify the income tax and just make it a flat sales tax.
Well, they'd have to be awfully high, and that would hurt, low-income people more than people with all the income. So
Yeah,
top
but
1%.
if everyone had to pay their fair share, including corporations and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, there's good luck with that one because they've got accountants and they can skirt around taxes.
Why don't we save that
Yes,
one
okay.
here? And these were some of the questions that we had from religious people in our Ask an Atheist segment. If you want to put up, excuse me, put up the address, the email address for Ask an Atheist, it would be appreciated. One of the questions is, what will you say to God after you die? if you are wrong?
Well, it depends what God it is, I guess. So, you know, a lot of Christians assume it's going to be their God. What if it's Allah, or what if it's one of the other gods that people believe in? I guess we'll say, well, I guess we were wrong. I'll say, well, gee, God, if you're so perfect, why did you let me go on not believing you? You know, you should have
why didn't
convinced
you
me.
give me proof?
Yeah.
Like that. Maybe I'd say to God, gee, I thought you would be taller.
Yeah.
I don't know. Excuse me.
Want me to read that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Drink.
Doesn't it make you feel calmer to know something is looking out for all of us? How can you find serenity in a world without God? Well, because no one is looking out for all of us. Look at all the tragedies around the world. Look at all the things that are happening. No one's looking out for us. Some of us are lucky enough to be born in this country where we have it pretty good, and other people are born in countries where they don't have it so good, where they have people like the people in Syria now who are being slaughtered by their leader. So I don't find that anyone is looking out for all of us. Now, it's pretty egotistical of us to think that there is a supreme being, but he's just looking out for me. You know, he doesn't care about other people. He's just worried about me. So I think that's kind of, I don't know how you feel about that.
Before we go on with that, let me just say a couple of things
we're wrapping up
here.
Huh?
Time is sort of winding down here. Remind you again that our next show will be on Tuesday, October the 22nd at 6 p.m. right here on channel 16, and we are broadcast via the internet all over the world. They can't keep us down. Also, we would like to remind you that we will have one of our information and sales booths at the Enola Pumpkin Festival this coming Saturday and Sunday. Our booth, the Pennsylvania Nonbelievers booth, will be on the far right as you come in the main gate, and it's almost all the way down at the far end. We will have bumper stickers, T-shirts, other things for sale, but we also have free informational booklets that we hand out. That explains our side of the story, and also explains why you should be asking questions of your own religion. Now, I know you've been told never to do this, and it's almost a sin if you do it. However, you never learn anything if you don't ask questions. And just because you ask a question doesn't mean it's a sin, and it doesn't mean that you have to stop your belief. They're asking a question is just absolutely natural. So question your religion. Just think, if you question your religion like that, and you still are a religious person, you've chosen to be a religious person, then how could your God be angry at you because now you weren't just created a Christian, you've chosen to be a Christian or Buddhist or whatever it is. So you've looked at the evidence and you have remained religious. So always ask questions.
And don't forget our meetings.
Yes, and thank you. Don't forget our meetings. If you look at our website, the Pennsylvania Nonbelievers website, we have meetings in York, Pennsylvania, in Reading, Pennsylvania, and
Lancaster,
Lemoyne, and Lemoyne.